Well, I think retargeting is really what I've just described. So revert forward and reverse engineering are key capabilities within Data Modeler that allow you to retarget a database. Bringing it into the model, becomes that sort of that abstracted piece that says it's no longer an Oracle database. It's not a MongoDB database yet. It is a model of a business, of a business requirement and a way of managing that data with integrity. Now it's about deploying it. So retargeting the whole, you can retarget a schema that's been deployed on one database by reverse engineering it, pointing it and saying this is no longer an Oracle database, leverage all of the smarts and knowledge within Irwin Data Modeler to say this is now a MongoDB database, using the denormalization techniques to make it a better database in MongoDB, and then forward engineering that out and using that automation because it will create the code to instantiate that structure in, and I'm just using MongoDB or Couchbase or what,
Redis,
yeah. And that's just the classic, SQL to NoSQL. If you're going from Oracle to Postgres, or if you just let's say you don't want to pay Oracle, Oracle prices anymore, and it's more of a sort of departmental database. You can pop it onto a MySQL or onto SQL Server. All of those options are available because Irwin Data Modeler supports all of the databases within one tool and understands the commonalities and the sort of mappings between them. So this data type in Oracle is this data type in Postgres, right? It handles a lot of that for you, and you can actually customize that. You can customize the data modeling tool with your own standards that say, no, actually, in Oracle, this data type in Oracle, we want it to be this specific data type in Postgres. Pop that into your standards. That's how the tool does it from now on. So a lot of capability to define, manage standards, centralize them, and enforce those standards through the process of designing a new system or migrating an existing system into and retargeting it to a new platform.
Okay, good. Okay, so retargeting is that process of forward reverse engineering. Let me visualize forward reverse engineering and retargeting in Irwin Data Modeler.
Sure. So
is it a button? Is there a button that says forward engineer, and another button that says reverse engineer?
Absolutely.
I was joking. Is there?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Now you can. It's also much more powerful than that. And different people have different use the terms forward and reverse engineering in different stages of the life cycle, specifically the modeling life cycle, right? So, but most simplistically, if you wanted to migrate a database from your Oracle or SQL Server that it's been on, and you want to put it somewhere else, the first thing you need is an inventory of what exists in that database. Right? Whatever platform it's on. Now, you may be able to generate a script from SQL Server of what they call DDL or data definition language. And if you're a really super good person that understands data definition language, which is a version of SQL, you may be able to garner what's going on and really understand what's going on there. But now, that's just you. If you don't have as much experience, you may not. If you're trying to, collaborate with people that aren't, you're going to have a very hard time taking this, what is essentially cryptic code, and try to start to get a conversation and a working relationship about what's required to move this thing forward. So reverse engineering in its most simple form is pointing your data modeling tool at a specific instance in the database of your choice. Now, Irwin Data Modeler supports all of the old, I don't want to call them old, all of the traditional relational databases, all of the popular NoSQL databases, all of the new cloud data warehouses, and their sort of extended catalogs, and I can pull into a very structured environment that includes a visualization exactly what exists on that database: the tables, the columns within the tables, the data types, any validation rules that you may have, lists of what is a valid value in this field and what isn't. It'll pull all of the stored procedures, indexes, all of these physical things that have been built in a database to make it work. You now have a full, just by pressing a button, and you don't have to do it all. You can do it selectively because, again, Irwin will allow you to say which objects would you like to include in this reverse engineer. But you can basically click a button, or you can set up standardized templates that you enforce how things get reverse engineered using Irwin Data Model. And I can go on all day about these types of things. But basically, you're pushing a button, and now you have a graphical depiction of a very complex system that you can drill down into and say, here's your order table, here's your customer table, these are the columns that are in there, these are the data types, these are the valid values. These are the indexes that are making those things perform faster when they're queried. These are the materialized views that are bringing these things together to expose for specific applications that exist out through the organization. A complete inventory.
Gosh, even for planning, I was going to say, even for planning and design, that's
it's
printed off on A2.
Imagine trying to do that yourself by generating a script from your database, and then what do you do with that? Do you articulate a document that do you start typing out descriptions and metadata? All of that exists, and you can get it, but you can get it all hung together in a structure so that you understand how this thing really, really works together. Now, forward engineering is the opposite side of that, which is taking a model that has all of that good information and pressing a button to say, generate this, actually deploy that on a platform. And you have a couple of ways to do that. Most organizations just want you to generate what we would call a SQL script, or the data definition language required, because they don't want people going and going direct from modeling tool to platform. Some organizations have done a great job of building a modeling practice where they have the right controls, so they actually provide the permissions for that to happen, where I can actually hit a button in Irwin and actually deploy a working database in a database catalog. So now you've been able to pull something out, you've been able to document it and inventory it. You're able to point at a new platform and say, transform these things, because we have all the data type mappings, all of the things for the basic stuff to be able to say, this was a table and a bunch of columns with a constraint and data types in database platform X, and now we're going to retarget it for database platform Y. Now, you're not going to be able to do a full translation. There's a lot of things where they have different objects and different capabilities in different platforms. You're not going to get 100% change and sort of transformation. But what you're going to get is, on top of all the things that you've been able to directly transform to that platform ready for deployment, you've also got a laundry list of things that are not supported in that platform that you now need to address and understand. In this migration, we're going to have to take these store procedures and we're going to have to recreate them in this platform, or maybe indexes. There's a lot of different things. And again, depending on how similar the platforms are, Irwin will do more of that work for you. If they're separate, if they're very different, then it will at least give you that planning document that now allows you to understand, what does this migration really involve.
I was going to ask you about that initial assessment, where I need to understand the degree or level of refactoring on the application side that's required. Is there anything in Irwin Data? I don't know the answer to this. Is there anything in Irwin Data Modeler that will help assess on the application code? Because we've been talking about the database code. Is there anything on the application code that Irwin Data Modeler can do? You can say no.
And I'll say no. We don't generally go into application code. Where we touch the application developers is our ability to get uh, our models out into different, agile coding environments so that they have a better understanding of what they're coding to. We don't. Years ago, we played around with languages like Visual Basic and Power Builder and bringing some of that in, but it really wasn't what our customers were looking for. And now, as we continue to move on with more and more languages, that it was just there wasn't the benefit that sort of aligned with the sort of, the lift of keeping that valid
Yeah.
and up to date. So we don't play that side, but what we do clearly do is identify what's been being supported in the database and what's not, and what's being supported outside of the database. So again, it's about planning, it's about understanding what you have and where things exist, and then allowing you to create that sort of plan. I've seen so many customers that use initial reverse engineerings and those inventories as part of the go no go on the migration, because sometimes it's not worth migrating something that you have. Sometimes you're better off to build a new application and then take the data that exists over in that other database and just do the work to transform and reload that data into a complete new system. So that ability to understand, are we going down the right road before you start to go down that road, has been hugely helpful for our customers and allowed them to figure out the right way to get to where they want to be.
Okay.
Because again, they understand the impact of what it is they have in front of them. They can see what that plan is, and they say, you know what, we're better off cutting that system off, getting a pull of data from that so that we have new data to load. But we're better off rebuilding a system, because not only is this an archaic system that was built maybe in some questionable ways, but we have new requirements, and those requirements say, hey, it's like always when you buy a house, do I renovate the house or do I tear it down and build a new one? And
Gosh.
and if you've ever renovated a house, trying to connect the old to the new is always your most dicey and sort of expensive place. That's where all the unknowns show up. That's where, oh, we thought it was going to cost this, but it actually cost that because we didn't realize that there was a whole bunch of rot behind that. The same thing applies as you look at migrating your databases. Do we keep this thing, or do we just, you know, do we deprecate that database, create a new one, and push the data over, as
And
opposed to trying to migrate the database itself?